All right, welcome to another lesson. Actually, 3 years. And just thank you again for your time of speaking specifically. Obviously, just beware because I know you're my only second year part timer. Yeah, just thank you again for obviously your great attendance and your efforts and stuff like that. And and stuff like that. Right? Okay. And I really wish you the well and the best for the formative F1, right? Okay. Yeah, formative F1, right? Okay. So listen, just to kind of clear things up here, the lessons themselves are a little all over the place. Like there's repetitions. And like and so you're gonna see I'm doing lesson 23 here, but I'm gonna banner it under lesson 24. I think it's lesson 24. I'm going to put it there because you see I've listed 22, 23 in the previous lesson, which is about features, right? Um, then and then I'm going to put this as 24, and I'll do 25, which I can see here is a unique. Which I can see here is unique. Yes, it is. I'll do lesson 25. Uh, Yeah, that's right. Okay. You'd think I'd know, I'd figured this out beforehand. It just, I did. I was doing it to the other second years of full timers, and it was, it was here and there, right? Okay, so anyway, so we've got this over here. What I'm going to do is just show you, maybe I should open up my own show prep to show you, and I'm not quite sure if I have shown you this before. But I will show you my prep for like a show and how different it does look. Let's say to the format. We're gonna do like a little bit of a bridge here. So you'll see that it's going to be here. So a little bit of an example of the running order for prep, right? And this over here as well. I'm so sure I've spoken about this before. It just looks so familiar, right? Which makes me believe that. Let me just quickly have a look. I know I'm wasting your time. I'm so sorry. It just looks so familiar. Advanced content creation was lesson 14 and 15. Give me a second. You can just literally, nope, that's not right. Yeah, because I'm looking at the previous lessons here. So lesson 14 was advanced content creation. Lesson 15 was the formatics. The formatics, just want to quickly forward on over here. Just want to make sure that none of the running order is actually covered. Make an appointment, Kramer's handbook, 4:15. Okay, so then we should have covered, we did cover in the past contact lesson as well. Got quite a couple of lessons, and and it didn't seem so because I know we had like a short time because of just of the funeral that you had to attend. But anyway, okay, I'd say this because can't see that we have covered it, even though I know that I have covered it somewhere along the line. Perhaps maybe it's with another class, right? All right, so let's continue with this. Quite like I said, quite a short lesson. Then what I'm going to do, or at least I can add to this, is definitely this over here, the actual prep. All right, so let's look at this practical programming and making. Again, just apologies for that little segue, that unnecessary segue. It's just for clarity, man. Yeah. Anyway. Okay, so part 6 of 8. Okay, next level radio, chapter 4, page 138 to 146, and that's show prep. Plan to insert your character into the show that you're doing or planning to do. Right. Okay. So, all right. So what we want to do is we have spoken about your own character and your own personality and how it is that you could possibly, possibly and then probably and then like for real, put it in to what it is that you do and say, and plan and execute and roll out whatever it is in your show itself, right? Okay, at the center of anything that's going to make this show good is yes, obviously it's going to be you. You are at the core of it, but to also remember that knowing that you have to be able to be like, for example, like we're going to look at prep now. That means production, moving to a slight focus on production. But you have to be able to produce well, but also present well. Can you imagine you produced a great show that's fantastic, so it looks great on paper. You've prepped all your and set up all the interviews. You've got all the sound bites. How great is that? And then you go on air and you just don't deliver, right? So maybe it is because you don't yet know how to be a great presenter, which is also unfortunately just not obviously rated as a not great radio, right? Um, but also perhaps maybe your mind's not in the game, like your mind's not focused, and you execute terribly. You kind of lose track of your thoughts, or and there's so many different things that can make presentation or actual like execution just kind of fall flat on its face. So we do need both them as well. Looking at it from presenting side, so let's say you're a great presenter. Oh man, you got like a massive personality, it's magnetic, whatever it may be. And the prep just is not there. You will end up talking about nonsense, right? So I think the relation between the two is quite clear, right? Every character that you and I don't like the word character because it 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 confuses us all, never mind students or just the people. So every presenter or person that plays a role in the show, contributor, co-host, whatever it is, should have a detailed character map that will help align the content with a presenter's character, right? Okay, and that's again. So remember that we mustn't get lost between understanding that it is important for us to know who we are and what our strengths are, our weaknesses, or maybe the great parts of our personality, and so on and so forth. Sure, that's fine, right? If we're going to talk about it in this context where you can be able to choose content that does align with your own abilities, I would say maybe that makes more sense, right? So, for example, if I really know a lot about pop culture, and I'm speaking for myself, so maybe not everything in pop culture, but I do indulge in it as not as a hobby. It's really part of a lifestyle choice. Hey, there we go, right? Just like we all do. But I really enjoy it. So be it whether it is in like I say, obviously too before gaming, or if it's in comics, or if it's in movies, or if it's in TV series, or if it's in like actual like social culture or social media, digital, that type of stuff. Everything that has to do with pop culture, popular culture, art, music, um, everything that really umbrellas that I quite enjoy. And the thing is, because I enjoy it so much, it becomes it is layered in as part of who I am, and that my personality characteristic is defined by parts of that as well, right? So so definitely I would like to and 10 to 1, I'd probably lean towards some kind of definite pop culture, how can I say, inclusion within the show at some other point. Then having said that, right, we're not one-dimensional, two-dimensional human beings. We do enjoy different things as well. So that's having said that, there'll also be a portion of that we'd like to reflect within our work, for example, as a creative, sure. And then the last thing, of course, is that we need to remember that the show is not about us, hey? So remember that it has to be about the listener. And if I'm not into sports, which I actually am not, it doesn't matter if my listener is a good, like a strong, really like a fanatic of sports, right? then best I include that in my show if it calls for it, and I best go and learn more about becoming a little bit of not an expert. That's just going too far, and that's going to be also a bit of a lie to the listener as well. But I best get a bit familiar with, let's say, sports, and and cover some stuff within the show to make sure that I'm reflecting the lifestyle of the listener, right? So, for example, here are five ways of inserting personality and characterization into music radio links. So, for example, if you know a lot about music, and I guess you would know of someone that really knows genuinely a lot about music is Alex J. I, every time you listen to it, I cannot believe the amount. And I've known Alex for so long now, let's say about 20 years, but also I listened to him as a child. That's how long Alex has been in the industry for. Anyway, and this man, like with clear and concise and confidence, knows like clear, concise, accurate confidence. He knows so much about the artists and the songs and even the way that they were produced and I say that it's amazing because it's crazy. He knows so much about music in general as as an art form, and you can hear it all the time. He speaks, he buffers the information that he buffers well the songs with information that is so interesting as well, that you would know that this is definitely his passion, right? So you can add that in, remember, like we can put something into a very simple construct, for example, right? Telling the listener that this was number one for 4 years, let's make any sense, 4 months in a row, in 2024, and broke a certain record on the Billboard chart. So it was at number one across South Africa as the biggest download, or the most downloaded song in the country. Or tell us, it's like a small fact about how this artist came up with the song and what it's really about. People kind of confuse the actual message, and this is actually what it's about. So interesting things like that about music, information elements. Yes, we know that. So obviously prep to be able to inform a listener at the end of the day. A welcome and shake hands with the listener. So again, with kind of like opening that show, right? Opening that show, you want to be able to create an immediate link, an immediate connection, an immediate safe space for that listener to be like, oh, okay, like you would in real life, like shake a person's hand and, connect with them almost, obviously, almost directly in real life. You're going to do the same thing on air as well. Take some phone calls. You're going to have some lifestyle comments as well, and so much more that you could include in there. So this again with the yeah, so at any one point, just I mean, if this is repeated, just send me a voice and like just send me a message and say, Chris, you've covered this. I'm not going to watch this lesson or whatever it may be, right? And also I can just go back to Grant and kind of fix this, all right? Okay, a P2 listener is the person that is listening to more than one station. So, for example, your station and another station. We want to be able to convert those people into P1 listeners, but they should be P1 listeners are there already. So we are pleasing them already, and they've chosen us as the number one station, number one choice, right? Okay. With a P2 listener, on the other hand, we want to be able to help them gravitate more towards us instead of the second or third choice of radio stations that they choose to kind of cycle around and cycle back to whatever it may be when they are listening to the radio, right? So technically they are sampling the station, and the goal is to keep the listener well tuned in for as long as we can, so try to keep them listening, as we do with everything when we started this journey this particular year, and so last year as well. You've noted that as one of the points. We need to keep a listener listening longer, right? So this can be done preparing and planning a show around only them, and that isn't a difficult thing to do. I mean, it sounds so like a bit of a dictatorship, as though you can only do that. You should only do that because it doesn't make sense to doesn't make any sense to do anything else, like center it around a different type of listener, someone that's listening to another station completely, or in another country, or even for yourself, right? None of those other options make sense. So the only one that does make sense is to cater the show for that particular listen, the whole show, and for only that listener, right? So front load every link creatively. In other words, so make sure that when you are creating the hook, that you are creating a strong hook that gets them interested. Let the audience get to know you definitely. So throughout, don't feel like it's something that you have to push. When you are trying to build a friendship or build a romantic relationship or build some kind of rapport with a coworker or a lecturer of yours, whatever it may be, like it's going to be kind of like awkward in the beginning in the sense that you're not going to say much about yourself and they're not going to say much about themselves, but you're going to slowly, as you move along with your own confidence and comfort within this particular interaction, right, between you and another person, it's normal. You're going to start opening up more. Your personality is going to show more. Like your jokes going to come through. If you are a joke teller, like you're going to be feel quite safe to have your quirks be showcased and whatever it may be. So don't force the listener to get to know you. Let them get to know you, and you get to know them, quote unquote, right? As organically and normally as possible, right? Definitely go and take callers if your station allows for that. So I will say this again. I keep saying this, and because it still astounds me. Some radio stations don't take any callers at all because the culture that is being created in the station itself has now trained listeners not to actually call in or send WhatsApp voice notes, or maybe they only send WhatsApp voice notes and there's no actual interaction, like so a live call and stuff. And for me, it's quite sad. That was that for me when I started to realize what a reality, like an actual common thing that was being put into practice around enough stations was happening. I was like, wow, this is a sad time for radio, man. It without a live caller, I couldn't imagine doing a great show, And I suppose so I was talking about the station that I work for. We just don't we don't have a listener culture. They do send us some WhatsApp voice notes here and there. I'm just saying to you, and that's fine. But for me, like radio is about that interaction, because the thing is that yes, you prep so well, and yes, you put out some interviews, and yes, you got some great content, but the real magic comes from how you have a conversation and create a relationship with that person on the other side that you never, ever, ever know personally. And it's so great. And that's really where the brunt of the magic of being on air really comes from, right? Anyway, as you know, tease. So front loading, remember, is about the hooks, and the teasing is beforehand. And always, 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 always contextualize why it is you're speaking about something, because, or why it is you're speaking about to somebody, like a guest or whatever it may be, right? Someone on the phone, or even a call if you do take a caller to air, right? You have to tell the listener why? Why am I doing this? Why should they care? Why is it relevant to them? Right. So very important. So here is just a bit of an example. I'll show you my prep for example, and how it doesn't look like this, right? And not because I'm correct, but because when you do your own prep, there are so many different ways, just like the clocks as well. There's so many different ways that you can set up your own prep and stuff. But okay, what's nice about this as a template, and one of the many different types of templates you might find out there to help you and assist you along with preparing for your show, right? Is that it is structured, and yes, for someone new, I'm saying new to radio and new to, let's say, prepping shows or whatever, a structure does help someone like just move along quite nicely as well and comfortably through or this particular learning process, right? So, for example, you see on the picture there, it says there's the showrunner or template there. In other words, like what's going to happen, the running order, like in what order and what is going to happen when, right? So, some important numbers. This you should have on your prep, or it should be somewhere in the studio, a very, very clear in front of you is the telephone line, the WhatsApp line, the SMS line, all the handles that you want to talk like let's say mention in your links as quote unquote admin, right? So what is it on TikTok, Instagram, this, that, whatever it may be, right? Things that are stagnant throughout the kind of like the brand identity of the station, as well taglines that are important for you to say after every time you mention the station's frequency or name, whatever it is. And then if there are any competitions, you will not know of them. I'm saying beforehand, you will obviously be informed of them via communication with your sales marketing department, right? And they will, if there's a need to brief you beforehand, you will have that information to put, let's say, within your running order. Otherwise, when you do get to the station, which is important, which is the very reason why it's very important to get there about an hour or maybe an hour and a half earlier than your show, is to see what is happening on the day from, let's say, the traffic department. So I say traffic, I mean, let's say, so I mean actually like the sales traffic department, right? So when I'm like how many ads do I have there, how many libraries do I have that I've got to make sure that I've got practice and make sure that it's great executions for. Am I calling someone because like the head of someone, a CEO of someone, because it ties in with the competition rollout that I have to execute at 22 the hour, whatever the top of the hour, and so on and so forth, right? So what you can see there, I'm just trying to zoom in just a little bit so you can see just an example of one of them, right? So you would see that they all kind of look the same, in the sense that structure link one, 12 o'clock. It starts maybe at news. You do a bit of an intro just directly after the news, not too long, right? Just say, hey, hello, do a bit of your admin over there. Like, for example, include your social media handles and then allow more of the intro to the show to happen at a later point, like for example, in link two, whatever it may be, right? With teasing the promise, right, or performance, I would remove it over here, for example. I wouldn't, like I say, put my particular intro here. I would rather leave it as a solid number one link over here, right? Okay, but not to confuse the issue, just saying, and please do not take this as the only thing that can be done. But the whole point here is always to throw forward, so tease, promise, right, as to what's going to happen in the next link, right? When you're done with this portion or segment, don't forget to always tell them what's going to be happening next to keep them listening longer, right? So entice them properly. Okay, anyway, so then we have this situation. Let's make it a bit smaller. What I'll just do now and present it. Damn it. Second, make it it's a bit smaller. And this is the layout for a like a particular talk hour, right? Around I think it was farming. I think it was farming around guinea fowls and the value chain of them, whatever it may be, and right. And this is just like a rundown of. So remember, this isn't doesn't constitute as prep. This is just a running order. So what happens where? You say to me, well, okay, well then why not just do prep? You can more. You can just do full prep because it's the same thing. You're going to be saying exactly at what time everything is going to be happening, right? Okay. And you're going to say, obviously, well, I mean, judging from obviously time and music breaks, whatever it may be in between, like we'll be able to tell like how many minutes you should be spending on that particular link or not, right? We will note, for example, whether something is pre-recorded, like for example, when you see the tapes over here, like voices, like your boxes, from farmers in the Yendi community in the northern region of Ghana, and another one over here, a Mrs. whoever it is of is it to say Tarale, right? Talks about her guinea fowl business, etc. Right. So these are pre-recorded or sound bites, or whatever it may be. It says Vox Pop over here. It says a storytelling interview over here, right? You would say these things in your prep. You would say, like, I want to do a phone in here. I want to, I'm going to play out this particular piece and it is labeled this. Let's say if it's loaded onto your system, it's got a certain code like G124. So let's say and why is the code important? Because the presenter has to go and find that particular piece, you understand, through using codes, for example, to look through the database of the library, right? Okay, and then obviously it says like so this is quite so I say it's quite detailed, and this indicates when it's detailed like this, one after the other, minutes to seconds, etc., right? We will know that this is a talk show, right? This is a talk show that we see here. Okay. So I've zoomed in. It's a little too much over there. Please don't forget to go and always visit the links and to go and let's say have a look at different just that extra information over here. Right. It says the underrated, so undated network clocks, 99% invisible, undated. Episode 88, the broadcast clock, what is the running order and tips for making your run sheets and so on and so forth. Right. You can go and complete activity 4A, question 3 on page 146. All right. Once again, if this has been repeated for before, I can't see it in the recordings. So I'm not sure. Well, I think I'm sure I covered it with another class. So this is where my mind is at. And no, yes, I know. Maybe from now on I should take notes as to when and who I speak to about which lesson because I'm doing all the second years and all the third years at the same time now. Okay, all right. Let's quickly stop that share. I'm gonna go. What I'm gonna do is I am going to take you through my, it will look messy to you. It's quite long, yeah. It's 10 pages long. It's for a 4 hour show. There's the Sunday Revolution show, prep number 87, with Chris on 919. Okay, 3 o'clock, there's the news that goes out there we've got to make sure that I can play. We have to try and play as best we can three song sweeps over the weekend, right? Because it's about more music and less talking, which I try and balance out. I'm not going to say that I'm the best at it. I try to balance out because I got some really cool stuff that I wanna I wanna include in the show, right? Anyway, I'm just making excuses, right? You gotta keep it short, wherever you can, right? Anyway, my first opening link is at about 15 past, and I throw forward and this is a director from the music manager, the station manager, and she says you have to obviously we know through a feel for music, but this is not something that I would normally do. I wouldn't normally do, but it was a directive from is that you should throw to the bigger segments in the show. So, for example, like the Saxby twins were coming in studio, and that was happening between like I think in the third hour. And for me, I'll tell you the reasoning as to why you should not be throwing forward to that far. I'm saying that far in well ahead, right? Or in advance, whatever it is. I don't know what. Right. Okay, but that far ahead. Because the listeners will tend to not be there. So what we need to actually do, and this is the correct way, and no offense to my boss, right? You should always tease to what's happening in the next 15 minutes to possibly the next hour, right? Do not tease to the next hour, like specifically, let's say what's happening at the end of the hour, but without including a tease to, let's say, the next 15 minutes. In this case, like the Super Soul Sunday moment, please, so just a disclaimer, the show has to be the show that our brand, I've said it before, is all about empowerment, very positivity. The listeners that do come to our station do listen. Don't we have learned now that we don't speak for taboo reasons or shock value reasons or whatever it may be. We're there to literally be an option for them to listen to radio, be informed properly. I'm saying across, let's say, current affairs, whatever it may be. Everything's there. But we have to, as presenters and the shows, have to make sure that the show doesn't offend people. One, right? We're not out there to again cause a discontent, right? So it's not sorry for the snotting, right? Okay. But we're not there to upset them. Does that make sense? So one might think that is quite restrictive, and can I tell you something? Every single commercial radio station, right, is restrictive. They have their own. Every single station has its own mission statement, its own brand, and will tell you you may only operate within this small little box, right? But to be a creative, to be an effective creative, like you need to say, okay, that's fine. It's the box is small, but there's so much that I can do within this little box, right? I don't need a bigger box to prove that I am like that I can do something. In other words, making an excuse for yourself to make an excuse as to why it is that you only need something to be able to be something, right? And here's a good example of that because you know me, I love to go on a rant, right? Okay, like if you have to think of so let's say a show that has no that has all interviews first of all, competitions to give away, big prizes or whatever it is, right? That now that and I'd take that same DJ, that same team, whatever, and put them in a midnight slot. So, for example, between let's say 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, which I'm so happy to see that stations have brought back this particular year, which is great news for you. I'm saying in the future now you can actually start like or have an opportunity to join a commercial station like in the midnight show, you know, before it was automated, right, for a long time, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, right? Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm getting excited, getting distracted as usual, right? Anyway, the point is you put this particular now team, right, in a midnight slot. There are not even ads, man. There's not even ads that can fill up your time. There's no one that's going to chat to you. I'm saying as an interview, and also why would they talk to you at 2 o'clock in the morning? Think of your listeners that are listening at that time as well. I'm going to go blow my nose down just a second. Let me just finish my point, right? And the thing is that particular presenter cannot say, "Oh, my show is terrible because I don't have like competitions or I can't do call outs or whatever it is." No, like, no, you can't see me swinging my finger right now, but I'm doing it, right? You need to be enough. You at the very essence need to be enough to make a show great. Anyway, sidebar. So that segues into understanding a small box that will continuously be like not offered to you, dictated to you. You must operate here. That's what we operate under or within. And then you say, that's fine. Like that's fine with me. I can do great things within a small box. Okay, let me just quickly go blow my nose, and I'll be back in a second. Blow my nose now. Now I'm fine. For the moment. Okay. Right. So I went on with a rant. I know that I ended that point, so I can move on now. All right, so I'm going to take you through. I'm going to try and take you through the whole thing, without going through the entire, I'm saying the entire actual prep itself. Just want to see through the layout. So 5:15 to 5:18, as if it almost happens, probably another like a song in between this very, very short link, ideally. But I might also use this and put into one link because I'm not doing two things at the same time. I am throwing forward, but I'm starting the feature over here called the Super Soul Sunday moment, right? And the Super Soul Sunday moment in this particular show, I decided to, well, take out, I'd carry it on for about just under half an hour with songs in between. And I'd say, okay, 15, 18, at 18 past three, I'm going to first start with a bit of a setup. And the whole thing about the Super Soul Sunday moment is, of course, like just to look at the more like an aspect of your life, whatever it may be, that you can go and again, the Super Soul Sunday moment is based on literally on Oprah and her Super Soul Sundays, right? Okay. All right, but anyway, so taking that off and kind of like thinking a little out the box about one particular thing based on specific narratives from other people. So what I did here and was whether I think we can make it work. It's almost like as if for the next half hour, even if there is a musical song, like a song or two in between, it's going to sound a bit like a bit like a structured podcast, right? As opposed to like a radio content piece, right? And how I decided to do that is I would include enough audio clips that make it dynamic as I move along with my own narrative in between, right? But so the thing that makes it quote unquote different is the amount on varied different types of views and points and situations that I do include from these different people to describe how to I mean, kind of the action that you can take. First, identifying that you are and what is rock bottom. I picked this particular, I started off with this clip of Todd Lay, who was a very famous tennis player, and he speaks quite candidly about his really big, like his biggest want in his life was to actually just destroy himself because there was just this day in day out situation of him for since he was a kid that all he was a tennis player. He had to play tennis, practice tennis, heal from tennis, blah blah blah. Right. So I use it and it's an immediate way to set a tone of what it is that I'm going to speak about. This stuff, it seems very basic, which you can see I only highlight certain aspects, right? And just to note that within my prep, I've got a little more than what I'm actually going to say, right? And it gives me an opportunity. It must give me an opportunity to, as I go along with the prep as well, make it my own, right? So this is very kind of straightforward. I don't like being straightforward, but I do need to have direction at the end of the day. So I can speak quite candidly and also uniquely about isolation because I know about it. I know about rock bottom, and so I did speak about it on air from my perspective, but also from perspective that I know it relates to everybody that has been in that situation. I go to a little bit of a bit of an update as to what it's defined as in 2025, and then I start the first part of this particular TED talk from Carl Perizovich, who hit rock bottom four times in a row. So with each particular segment, so that's one leg, all in one. It's quite long when you put it all together. I think it's about maybe 6.5 minutes, right? But the way that I justified it is when I talk, right? That is about maybe a minute and a half in between these things, right? And that's more so why I'm saying to you, I'm playing around with with the format of almost like a live radio podcast, within this particular first segment, right? And what you hear in between are different, beginning, middle, and end are different reasons to kind of like say, oh, okay, it's different sparks to your attention, right? Reasons to keep you interested. Anyway, I'll come back at 15:35, and then I'll continue because the Super Sun Sunday moment is not over. But then I go to a woman called Glennon Doyle Melton, and she rose to mass success with a book called Carry On Warrior, and she speaks of her own try to be big rock bottoms, right? With her, obviously, so all of them have this in common is obviously substance abuse, and then she's also a famous podcast. I played the audio, not the video, right? I mentioned one thing as a shift in perspective because we're now moving along. We want to find some resolution and natural progression within our show, right? And then move on to a Facebook Live a video from Dane Cook, which starts to show how he looks forward to rock bottom, right? Because he says it's the only way you can actually find real clarity to be able to solve or get past a situation, right? I put these notes in. I don't even think that I actually said them. I didn't say, I did mention this, but I put it into my own words. This, because at the crux of the problem of hitting rock bottom is your loss of purpose. And that may seem very obvious. I'm now taking you through my show. Wow. Anyway, yeah, I'll tell you why I focus specifically on that. And you say to me, oh, but Chris, there's so much other information. Yeah, it's so that you can have perspective on your subject matter and be allowed a choice, you can be allowed choices, allowed the freedom of what it is that you would like to quite candidly and again quite confidently include in your natural execution of a link. Anyway, so purpose is a massive deal. When you hit rock bottom, you're not having a midlife crisis. You do not want to into one live. You lost that dream job, you lost the job, you don't have a job for years, breakdown, like a health scare, whatever breakup it might be. And then I close it all for a holistic ending to this particular piece is what happened to, because when I edit, or what happened to Carl Brisvich, but when I did the edit for these particular audio pieces, I make sure that in part one there's like a cliffhanger, right? So like a cliffhanger. So like, oh, he ended at a point in the story where we want to know what happened next, and then obviously we close that up at the end of this particular piece, the Superstar Sunday moment. Anyway, at 15:55, this was dictated before to us. I have to do a station promo competition, which is called 919 Make Santon Better. That's the name of the competition, and there were options for what we would call this would be called more a live promo, right? Where they would give you scripts, whatever it may be, right? That you can go and then make your own in any kind of way, but making sure that you have to mention one, the number, like how much people are going to win and what they need to do to win it, and obviously the name of the campaign. Anyway, other way that you decide to do it is fine. Okay, these are just extra notes that I just put in just in case I run into a situation that I don't have anything to say or I'd like to add something on. I just so some notes on positivity, right? Which is I'll go to for anything and everything, right? I could also use these particular points, and I hardly ever use them, but to let's say follow up, like include an interview or a situation where someone has sent a voice note and I can kind of see some kind of inspiration that I could add on to that. All right. Anyway, I must include a teaser. You don't. So with a teaser, so this is a blank teaser. So telling you what's going to happen in the next hour. Every single link, though, I write it here because I know what to do. Like with it, when I finish the link, like best I throw forward in this situation. Yeah, yeah, yeah. where I'm doing a continuous, like there's a subsected, right? Subsected content piece, right? It happens over three links. Best I go here at the end, right? I know how to do that. And so I don't have to write it for myself, but you need to tease effectively. In other words, send a promise out for what's going to be expected next. Once again, we start the hook in every single link. I'm not writing it down because obviously I know how to do that, and so it's going to look a little different to when we create, obviously, our content for ourselves. But once again, just to kind of go through, just here's the Saxby Twins that came to the studio. I just took their press release for the brand new song that day that we did feature on the show. But then also, what I did and made sure is that I had a line of questioning, baseline of questioning, right? Okay, that I sent to the agent, and I say, and I do. So I say they also note the twins will perform a song or two live throughout the interview. I did also want to do a little bit of a telepathic little fun game with them because they are twins. And I also did speak to their mom. Right, I put the mom on the phone as well. Um, but for the agents, I said to them, here are the base questions. I might not cover all of them. I might cover half of them, but also note that the twins, I'm going to go with a flow. Even if there's definitely going to be reasons as to why it is that I will drift from these particular points because I know how to hold interesting or captivating conversation on air. And then I just put them there, like the Saxby Twins, they're going to continue for the rest of the hour. And then I have a feature called hashtag I feel fine. The opening is always the same, but I don't go rinse, cycle, and repeat. I'm going to go and do it in obviously a fresh, new, original way each time, but making sure what to mention because this podcast comes in every single week. I start off with a TikTok video, right, to kind of set the mood, and then there is just this is a with this particular contributor. She's my mentee, right? And the thing is, so Leo does this feature every single week. She does it. She's been doing it for a year. It's good. It's good. It's good training for her. She's gotten better, better at it. I also tell her prep your feature, right? So she goes ahead. As you can see, it's kind of also a little AI generated, right? But also, so I said to her, sure, you can use AI. I don't mind, but don't make it one fact after the other and don't make it a blank. You know what I'm saying? So in other words, just like stuff that we already know. We already know, right? Okay. Anyway, hashtag I can find at 25 past 5, 40, and 50. And then again, very short, I'm saying short prep for the last hour over here. Here we go, 6 o'clock over here. It's called 6 Rewind. So I say C included song database because I want a database of songs that I will play and say, okay, I already played this, I used this, and I monitor that as well to be able to see which songs one fit obviously the format of the station, two have a quote unquote an underlying message of that relates or reflects our tagline or ethos as a station, and then just after that, more likely at about 6:40. I have the Sunday Revolution Evolution session with DJ Grant. So it's a mix that he puts together, only local music. Great stuff. I also punt him as a philanthropist, like he helps his community out in Westbury, which is close to us here at the station. And he's always looking for stuff that he's doing for the kids and for the elderly and anyone that needs some food or whatever it may be. Nice and short, but I can easily go into this link with him and play around with it and saying, yeah, anyway. All right, sidebar. Okay, so that's what the like a show prep looks like. I don't I know that this is not a bad example. I'm quite happy with showing you it, right? Because it shows enough variance, right? And also understanding to be able to say, okay, well, here we go. My show prep definitely will look different to somebody else's, right? And I'm saying to you, not someone that doesn't do show prep well. I'm saying that does show prep properly, right? It's going to look slightly different to theirs. and so we move along from there. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording there. We'll see you in the next.